Over the past few days, I've been testing out the new Blast status in Monster Hunter Now, and let me just say, it's amazing. It deals high damage and procs frequently. But is Blast the new meta for status weapons? Well, later on in this video, we will find out by comparing poison damage and blast damage. But first, let's talk about builds. My buddy Sky and I tested out 3 builds that will maximize blast buildup. A teostra blast powder build, a status sneak build, and lastly, a build that mixes these 2 skills. Now for all these builds, we are going to be using the teostra sword and shield for maximum blast buildup. But you can also use it for the teostra longsword. For the first build, we will equip 3 teostra armor pieces to get teostra blast powder level 3, which will make it easier for us to inflict the blast status. We will equip the teostra helm with latent power, the mail with crit eye, and the legs with crit boost. These armor pieces will give us the 3 points of blast powder we need while maximizing crit skills at the same time. Now, even though I'm not a huge fan of latent power, these pieces have the best synergy when it comes to affinity. The neat part is, we don't even have to upgrade these pieces to get the skills we want. For the vambraces and the waist, we equip the Rathian armor pieces to get burst level 3 for more damage and lock-on. For drift skills, you can choose to add more burst or add the limited blast attack skill that will buff your weapon's blast status. But do take note that there's a lot of RNG when talking about drift skills. With this build, we already inflict blast fairly quickly, so I don't think that getting blast attack will be a must. Now when fighting monsters that are weak to blast using this build, you can get around 7 to 8 blast procs. And against monsters that are not weak to blast, you can still get 6 blast procs. I was taking down 8-star monsters comfortably, even with just a grade 6 level 5 teostra sword and shield. That's not too bad. Now we also wanted to see how the new skill teostra blast powder would compare to the existing status sneak attack skill. Using a build with status sneak 4, blast actually became more potent. I was consistently getting 9 blast procs against monsters that are weak to blast. But the trade-off is you're targeting non-weak spots by attacking monsters from behind. I had a harder time taking down 8-star monsters using this build. Sadly, even with more blast procs, this build struggled with damage. But what would happen if we combine these 2 skills, teostra blast powder with status sneak attack? Sadly, you still just get 9 blast procs, the same as the status sneak build. But I did notice that when you're hitting the monster from behind, all your attacks will be applying blast buildup. Now that's pretty amazing. But you do lose out on some damage as a trade-off. So I think the sweet spot with enough blast buildup and damage is the first build with teostra blast powder level 3 and burst. Blast still procs frequently during the hunt and we still output a lot of damage. This build has offensive skills equipped and it can attack weak spots and still build up a lot of blast. Unlike the status sneak build where you have to attack monsters from behind where some monsters don't have weak spots. So we've seen how fast you can build up blast, but is the damage better than the poison status? The way poison works in Monster Hunter Now is generally the same as blast. Build up enough status and the monster will get poisoned. The main difference is that poison will deal tick damage every second. The status lasts for 10 seconds, dealing a total of 10 ticks. Now you can still build up status while the monster is poisoned, but the next poison status will not occur until the current poison status is over. For blast, it will just deal damage instantly. After that explosion, you can immediately proc the next blast status. Because of this, inflicting blast is much faster than inflicting poison. But is the damage better? Now we need to understand that status damage scales depending on the monster's HP. The more difficult the monster is, the more damage blast and poison will deal. With this in mind, we put these two statuses to the test by hunting the same monster. I'll be using the Teostra build with the Teostra Sword and Shield at grade 6 level 5, while Sky will be using this status sneak build with the Pink Rathian Longsword at grade 7 level 5, a whole grade higher than my Blast Sword and Shield. When up against the Jagras solo, which is both weak to Blast and Poison, Blast definitely procced more than Poison. On our test, the Jagras only got poisoned once, dealing a total of 5,770 poison damage, while Blast on the other hand activated 7 times, dealing 1,605 damage each pop for a total of 11,235 blast damage. That's so much more damage. Things get even crazier when we tested it against a Tobikadachi, which is only weak to poison, but even so, Blast still activated more times and ended up dealing more damage. Blast popped 5 times, dealing 935 damage each blast for a total of 4,675 damage, while Toby only got poisoned once and dealt a total of 3,360 damage. The damage, I'll admit, isn't too far. And you can also argue that if poison triggered twice, it would have dealt more damage. But the gap widens even more when we hunted the same 8-star Toby in a group. Blast managed to proc 3 times, dealing a total of 12,477 damage, while Poison only procced once, dealing 5,750 damage. So through these tests, we found out that the main advantage of Blast over Poison is that it deals huge bursts of damage multiple times, while Poison takes much longer to proc, since you have to wait for the initial Poison status to be over, while Blast just pops immediately and you can start building up for the next one. And that's all thanks to the new Teostra Blast weapons. These Teostra weapons can build up Blast faster since it has the better stats when compared to the Pink Rathian Longsword. It just goes to show how great these Blast weapons are. They have high raw but still maintain a high status value. Based on this test, it looks like Teostra weapons are currently the best status weapons for damage. But in the future, we can get a clearer comparison between Blast versus Poison when we get a Poison weapon with similar stats. Who knows, Chameleos might be the next Elder Dragon. But that's it for now. If you want to see another status build that deals even more damage, then check out this video next.